Welcome to the third episode of our webinar series, Diabetes, Geriatric and Nutrition. Previously, on the two episodes, we discussed the nutrition for geriatric and diabetes, but today we'll be specifically focusing on the nutrition part of it. True nutrition for healthy living. And nutrition is certainly the most essential part of our life. And when it comes to geriatric patients, special attention is needed. And to discuss this further, we have with us two most eminent people. So we have with us, ma'am, we have Mrs. Safala Mare. She is a senior clinical and metabolic dietitian in KM Hospital with 32 years of experience and specialization in fields like pediatric, metabolic disorder, endocrinology, cardio, GI, and hepatic. Ma'am is also providing training and guidance to postgraduate students and internship students since last 30 years and has co-authored multiple papers. Ma'am has also featured on various television platforms, and we are really privileged to have her with us for this session. We also have Professor Patankar, who would be moderating this session, and sir has been ex-professor of microbiology at St. G.S. College and Cambridge College. So, sir, over to you. I'll begin with the presentation. I'll put on the slides and you can take it ahead.
Thank you very much, Sanjana, for a nice introduction. Welcome, Safala. It's nice to see you here on this platform also. See, like Sanjana said, last two episodes, I would say, we discussed about diabetic patients, their nutritional needs. We discussed various nutritional issues involved with geriatric patients. But all the time, we were away from understanding the basics of nutrition, which the title says is a science and an art. And I often used to wonder how our human body utilizes various foods that we eat, and why do we require these foods basically? How is it that a tiny baby which takes birth becomes an adult individual in life? What must be happening? I remember when I took my baby steps in learning science, I learned about Lavoisier's experiments. Lavoisier, the father of chemistry, he found out that the exhaled air contained carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide is formed from the food or the organic materials that are present in the food. And this carbon combines with oxygen that we breathe, and that is exhaled as carbon dioxide. So it's very interesting to learn about food, what happens to the food, how the food helps us. Further, I came across, as I continued learning, three important terms. And these are metabolism, catabolism, and anabolism. So first question to Safala would be, could you please explain these three very basic terms? The anabolism, catabolism, and metabolism.
Yeah. Can you hear me all?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your warm welcome. But before we proceed, I would like to thank True Healthy team, all the organizers, and to thank to you, sir, for inviting me here today for this art discussion on nutrition, science, and art.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Food is basically the mainstay of our life, which provides us nutrition, right? Along with taste, palatability, aroma, everything. But food, when we enters our body, we cannot take it as it is, right? It has to go through certain process. The food is a basically mainstay of our life that everybody knows, which provides us nutrition along with taste, palatability, aroma, texture, everything is there in the food. So what happens to this food when it enters our system? Our body is not going to use it as it is, right? So it has to get digested and broken down into smaller components, and which gives us energy for our vital organs. So metabolism is basically a set of physical and chemical reactions that occur in our system, like breathing, blood circulation, digestion of food, and so on. So metabolism basically pretty broad term, where catabolism and anabolism, both two forms are there of this, where catabolism happens as complex to simpler ones, which gives us energy for the constructive process of anabolism.
And from anabolism is that from the simple molecules to the complex one. Energy, as I said, like whatever we are having food, like fats. Fats is turned to modified to fatty acids in simpler forms. Protein gives us amino acids for a body purpose. Polysaccharides, that is carbohydrate, converted to monosaccharides. So all these things occur, and then our anabolism starts. So this process goes on in our life throughout.
Okay. So what I understand, ma'am, from what you just explained,
Yes.
is what we eat gets broken down, from which some simple materials are produced, which are used
Yes.
to build up. Now this building up happens in our body at a cellular level, basically, because our body is made up of cells, basically. So this process of anabolism,
Yes.
but is it happening even when we are at rest and when we are sleeping, or is it happening only when we eat something?
No, it's happening throughout. See, every cell is working continuous throughout in our life. Every minute tissue is working for our life. So basically now, our brain is functioning throughout, our kidneys are functioning, heart is pumping, lungs are doing the process of inhale, exhale. So everything goes on. Only thing is the stomach is one part which takes rest when we are not having food for some long time. But digestion, assimilation, absorption, these things goes on inside, right? So the
Okay.
process is going on. That's why we are here today.
Right. So am I right if I say what food we eat can be called as nutrition? Or what is
Yes.
nutrition, or what is nutrient scientifically?
Nutrition is the science related to food. So it plays a very crucial role in our lifestyle. It is a nourishing process by which our body assimilates food, and it is used for our growth and development and wear and tear of tissues and so on.
Okay.
Sir, can you see my this thing, or the video is seen?
Yeah.
Hello?
Food items I can see there now.
Hello.
Can you see me?
Yeah. Hello,
Yeah.
ma'am. You and Patankar sir both are clearly visible on Facebook, so you can go
Yeah.
on. I checked that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
what we
Yes, sir.
eat it gives us nutrition, and the components of
Yes.
we eat, they are called as nutrients, basically, because they
Yes.
all the process of metabolism. So whatever
Yes.
actively the process of metabolism can be construed as nutrient.
Yes. Nutrients are what? These are ingredients of the food. Like,
Okay.
carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals, fiber, whatever we say, these are all ingredients of the food. These are all nutrients. So these nutrients are required for our maintenance of health, which for promoting growth and development, for building immunity, all body purpose.
Okay. So this process of catabolism basically releases energy from the food.
Yes.
Am I right in that?
Yeah.
How much energy is required in various ages, generally speaking?
See, there is one chart is there of ICMR. Sanjana, if you can show. So as sir is asking for energy. So first I'll tell you about this. Sanjana, the previous slide. Yes. So yes. Wait. Yeah. No, the Sanjana, the previous slide first. First, we'll talk about energy of day-to-day life. Yeah. As we said just now, we get energy by having all well-nourished diet, right? But along with that, by natural ways, we can increase our energy levels by good hydration, adequate sleep, rest, then avoiding all kinds of addictions, physical activity, along with well-balanced food. So for fitness, calorie balancing is very important, as she showed in the previous slide, where how much ever you consume, same thing needs to be burned out. Otherwise, then weight gain can arise. So for daily activity, along with food, physical activity is must. As the second question, what you said, how much energy is required for various age groups. So according to the chart, ICMR, which she just showed just now, they have given, the Indian Council of Medical Research, they have given the guideline, how much calorie the men, women, or even the till infants, how many calories are required by according to every activity. sedentary, physical, moderate, or even heavy workers and all. But these are just a guidelines to refer. Basically, what we want is according to the activities, and what we dietitians do is considering various factors, individual lifestyle, physical activity, what kind of nutritional assessment, what we get, his history of, and if any comorbid condition along with that. So on that we decide calorie requirement of the any one person. So these are the references which we have got, but every time we cannot go theoretically, we have to be practical by considering all the factors.
Right. Now here just a clarification I would like to know, because I used to get confused about the word sedentary. I can understand heavy work, I can understand moderate work. Is here referring to physical work, I suppose. What is this sedentary?
Yeah. Sedentary work in the sense we are sitting at one place, not moving around much, or the people are just going by any vehicle or anything, and then the whole day they are at the desk, IT sectors or anywhere where they are sitting just on one place and doing their work for hours together, and calorie burning is nil in hardly anything. This is sedentary lifestyle.
Okay, so let's
Even shopkeepers, at one place, those are sitting at one place in the shop. Any examples can be.
Right. So near absence of physical work, that leads
Yes.
to sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah.
Right.
So calorie burning is minimal.
Yeah. No, the food consists of, I've been hearing, you have been telling, food consists of proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. How much energy do these components provide in a scientific way, if I have to look at it?
So these are all macronutrients, right? So which like what we said, proteins, carbohydrate, fats. So we are getting this through food. In simple terms, I would say that 1 gram of carbohydrate and 1 gram of protein gives us 4 calories, whereas 1 gram of fat gives us 9 calories. Okay, but then that doesn't mean only fat is a culprit. The people might think that fat is 9 calories. Oh, then the fat is the one thing which we should avoid. But nowadays, what we see is a carbohydrate is a main culprit than the fat. Fat is unnecessarily blamed. What I seriously feel, because nowadays, what epidemic of obesity, as we have found, that more is refined carbs is a main portion. What people are having more than the fat. So I feel that these carbs are equally culprits in the for obesity.
Okay, apart from these three major constituents of the food, protein, carbohydrate, and fats,
Yes.
which other substances must be in our food? Can you guide us?
Yes, there's now we can see in this slide a micronutrients, that is all vitamins and minerals. There are many vitamins like all ACE vitamins, antioxidants, what we call, or this folate.
Excuse me, I'll interrupt you here a moment.
Yeah.
What do you exactly mean by macronutrient, and why these are called as micronutrients?
See, macronutrients are the protein, fats and carbohydrate, which gives us energy. And these micronutrients are the nutrients which we are using in minimal amount, which are present in the food always with every food item, and they are used for our growth and development, for immunity building, for disease prevention, for overall well-being, you can say. And they are not produced. Yeah, they are in minute quantity, and they are not produced by our body. They are used for our body functions. So they must be derived from food only.
Okay, so macro I understand is the constituents of the food like protein, carbohydrate, fats,
yes,
which we consume in larger quantities or large quantities compared to the micronutrients like minerals, whatever are shown here, or vitamins,
yes,
which are consumed in very small quantities. That's what I understand.
Yes.
Right. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Please proceed.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I was going to there for that point only. So in micronutrient, as you are talking about, it is basically derived from food, as I said. So all these vitamin minerals have vital roles to play in our body. All these they are for releasing energy. They are used as cofactors in all our body synthesis cycles. What goes on in our body. They work as a cofactor for for many enzymatic reactions. They are useful for maintaining our bone health, for even all blood parameters to maintain intact, like hemoglobin, what we say lymphocytes, monocytes, or neutrophil count. This is all because of all good functioning of micronutrients as well, along with macro. Maintaining blood clotting system mechanism, immunity building, and as an antioxidant is a very great role.
Okay. Now, somewhere I remember I had read about something called as a food pyramid also. What is
Yes.
the food pyramid?
Sir, the next slide is a food pyramid. Sanjana, can you show the food pyramid? Yeah, thank you. This is a triangular image of food pyramid. This helps us to know and make wise decisions about healthy eating choices. Here you can see that consume should be consumed, which we really consume in good amount, and how much should be consumed moderately. Which are the items like proteins should be moderately. Vegetables and fruits should be taken in good amount. And at the top of the corner, this panel, what you can see is eat in minimal amount. That is all fats, oily foods, sugary items, which gives us unnecessary calories, extra calories. Anything in excess is bad. So those should be taken in limited quantity. Those are the triangle. So from this triangle, along with that, good hydration status, because without water, nothing happens. So hydration also is very important part in this. And as you can see here at the top, as I said, these proteins are to be combined with our cereals. Because our Indian diet is based on more of carbohydrates through this whole grain cereals. So if we combine these proteins, pulses, and vegetables along with cereals, we can definitely have a good healthy diet.
Okay. So if I go by this food pyramid, and
Yes.
if I practice to eat according to the food pyramid with good exercise regularly, good physical activity, and obviously
And no addictions.
hydration, which you said, and avoiding those things that are given in the red circles there. Say no to
Yeah,
tobacco,
addictions.
abstain from alcohol,
Yeah.
and all things. Would this lead me to a balanced diet or a santulit ahar? And what is it exactly then?
In simple terms, the balanced diet is which contains all variety of foods, in certain quantities and proportions. So that requirement is of all the requirement of the all micro should get fulfilled.
Okay.
So this is what we say balanced diet.
Okay. No, generally, it is.
Many times it happens, many times it happens that some non-vegetarians, when non-veg is there, they just miss out vegetables completely, or those liking a specific food, then they will have that only in the diet, and then few things are missing out. So this should not be a called balanced diet.
Okay.
It has to include all the food groups should be there in proper amounts.
Great. But as a layman, I get little confused because you said that proteins and carbohydrates per gram give 4 calories, fat gives 9 calories. You said that so many micronutrients are essential in our eating or diet regularly. You told so many things about it. But still, it's very difficult for me to build up my thali, considering I need to get some 2200 calories or whatever it is there. So can you please explain in simple way, if I'm eating 2 chapatis or 1 bowl of rice, or 1 wati of rice or something, तो डे टू डे जो ज्यादा खाने में आता है चीज अपना, वो कितना कैलोरीज कंट्रीब्यूट करता है जनरली?
Sir, it will definitely vary. The calories of every food item will differ with respect to portion size, amounts, how much you are eating. Suppose it's dal, if it's thick dal, thin dal, consistency also matters. The calories will change. Roti, I'll tell you, in every community, roti are called different. Somewhere fulka, somewhere, bhakri, rotlas, or simple normal chapati. Maharashtra. So according to the word, there is amount of the flour which is taken is all different. So roughly, if you say then everywhere the calories will differ. In same way for liquids, if milk, 1 glass, if you say it will be 200 ml, whereas 1 cup milk, milk or any liquid per se, it is 150. 3/4 will be 100. So accordingly, the calories definitely will differ. So according to me, that if when any patient comes to us, when we show the standard cups, portion sizes, when he asks them many questions in detail, then he comes to know how much calories he is consuming actually. Because that way it's way to tell you about. See, in Indian nutritive value of food book, which is there of NIN, that it gives us every food items 100 grams value. But by this 100 grams value, you will get idea how much calories are there, but actually how much is consuming, that he'll come to know when he's sitting in front, and then when actually we are showing him portion sizes. How much is this big? 1 vati of yours and 1 vati of mine can be different, right? So that differs.
Suppose there is a vati of a standardized size, say 200 ml. So in that case, that volume of rice, that volume of
for example, I understood.
Yeah. Can you
guide? Suppose it's stand up. The standard cup, what you say now, standard cup, one measuring cup, if you consider that, suppose you are asking about rice, the raw rice will be around 40 grams, which gives you 140 calories. That will be up in the standard cup, red cup, which is in ml, it is 200 ml, but that standard cup is 40 grams raw. Even dal will be 40 grams raw, which is taken, then it will fill the cup. But same way, if dal is thin, then it can be 20 grams, it can be 30 grams.
I agree.
The quantity of grams will vary if the consistency changes, and accordingly calorie will vary.
Okay. Now, why I ask you this question? If at home I have to plan my diet to come to some definite calorie intake, vagera, so I have to consult a nutritionist. Is it essential? Do you suggest like that? Without consulting a nutritionist, you cannot plan a diet? Or are there any other guidelines available? I think we got again a technical problem here. Sanjana? Because what Madam referred to as NIN is a National Institute of Nutrition, which has been doing a great job of guiding Indian population about what should be the proper nutrition. In fact, I would request all of you to go to look at the National Institute of Nutrition, a guide on diet or food eating Indian foods. And it gives a wonderful information in very simple language. Welcome back, Madam. So next thing I have on my mind is there, I can see a green vegetable here in this thali, right? Now I have been hearing and everyone hears that one should eat a lot of green vegetables and like that. So what does they constitute? What do they give us actually? Because the common term I get is again the roughage has to be there in our food. Hello, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes. Yeah.
So I was on the point. What does the roughage consist of? And why should there be roughage in our eating? And what is roughage? So 3 questions together.
Hello.
Yeah, 3 questions together.
Yeah, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, very much. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So roughage is basically a dietary fiber, which we are talking about. Okay. So dietary fiber helps to relieve, in simple layman terms, you can say the dietary fiber roughage, when we say, it relieves the constipation and improves our gut health in short. Okay. But then in roughage also there are 2 types. So the fiber can be soluble, it's soluble and insoluble. So soluble fiber, insoluble first, if we talk about the insoluble fiber includes lignin, cellulose, hemicellulose, which contains, it's there in whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and so on. So it helps to maintain good weight loss by giving satiety, it works like it prevents our constipation. I'll tell you, in our OPDs, especially pediatric OPDs, nowadays what we see is bachos are they commonly complain about constipation. You know, and when we ask in details to the parents, what we have found is they are lacking in the fiber. That means their vegetable intake is very less, along with hydration status is not much. They are more indulging in all physical activities, very minimal. And this, when they are not having vegetables, but they are having all refined food. So roughage is missing, in short. So this is what insoluble fiber works with, and it's very important part for our system. Now, this is soluble fiber which we are talking about. So that is inulin, oligosaccharide, resistant starch, you know, gums, pectins, beta glucans, and so many soluble types are soluble fiber. Now, the soluble fiber also equally plays a very important role in it controls glucose spikes. You know, it prevents dyslipidemia, which goes everywhere. Then, you know, again, in long term, you can say it prevents even.
Okay. Okay. So two types of fibers. Fibers are the constituents that we get from.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Improves appetite control. So overall, and the sources of these fibers. See, every food has got soluble and as well as insoluble. Okay. So the sources can be, you know, all whole grain cereals, then pulses, legumes, fruits, vegetables, nuts, oil, seeds, everything. Every nutrient, this food atom has got both almost.
Okay. So proper mix of both the kind of the things. So person gets both insoluble as well as soluble fibers. Now here you mentioned one word.
Yes.
Could you please explain that word? Satiety, you said. What do you mean exactly by satiety?
Yes, satiety in the sense you feel full. You know, when we are having this insoluble fiber, this gives your this roughage gives us sense of fullness usually. Then, you know, when we feel the fullness, our stomach is packed. Okay, that's why always this is the idea in mind when we tell diabetics or hypercholesteremic, lipid patients. When we say your thali should be half filled with the fiber, half filled with the green salads, sprouts, vegetables. Why we say that? Because we want them to fill this with a good amount of nutrients so that they will have less of carbs, and then unnecessarily they won't indulge on other food items which are not necessary for them that time. You know, yeah. So satiety it gives, you know, feeling of fullness.
No, this overeating that leads to obesity and other things, especially with the Western kind of foods like the pizzas and burgers and the various kind of breads, because they lack in this fiber content, there is no satiety, and that's why people go on eating it more. Am I right in that?
Sir, you asked about fiber of group. I didn't get it.
No, I'll repeat my question, ma'am.
Hello.
I'm just trying to compare our Indian Santulit Ahar with the Western diet, where a huge population of today's young population has diverted to. Now, this Western diet includes a lot of fast foods like your pizzas and burgers and various kind of breads, which are made up of maida, basically. And because of that, they don't feel like their tummy is full and they eat more because satiety factor is low in them.
Yes.
As compared with the high fiber diet.
Yeah.
Am I right in that?
Yeah. No, what happens is for time being, they feel full. When they are having any pizza or when they are having vada pav, something of that kind, that time they feel full. But at the time, as maida and all these are the refined things, it is metabolized very fast and release energy very fast. So after some time, again they will feel hungry. You know, the insulin resistance comes into picture. That is a again different story. So then that it comes in the picture, and again they feel like eating after a few hours, or maybe after 1 hour. They feel like eating more. That's what happens. So
So
fiber really plays a very important role. All the guidelines suggest that 25 to 30 grams of fiber minimally should be taken by per person. That you can say roughly 14 to 15 gram per 1,000 calorie should be
Okay.
consumed.
Okay. So
By
you have already answered part of my next question. I was about to ask you what should be the daily fiber
Yeah.
intake. Thank you very much for that. But
Yeah. Here
part
I'll
of
tell
that
you
question is,
additional. Okay.
in diseases, various diseases or illnesses, what is the fiber intake? If I am suffering from diabetes or some cardiac problem or something like that, or I'm a bedridden patient. So how do I plan my fiber intake?
Can you repeat, sir, question, please?
Yeah. My question is, when we talk about the
Hello.
routine, hello, can you hear me? Hello. My question is, when we take our daily fiber of 25 to 30 grams throughout the day, if I'm a person suffering from some illness, what should be the fiber? Should I increase my fiber intake because I am not mobile, or should I maintain at the same level?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you, ma'am. Please continue.
No, but your half of the question, yeah, I didn't get. You meant to say you asked me basics because one question already was given by Sanjana. The understood of basic nutrition you asked her, but diet different in different diseases, something of that kind you asked me.
No.
Because
yeah.
I didn't get your question. I couldn't hear.
Okay, that's okay. My question
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
different disease conditions like diabetes,
Yeah.
heart disease, obesity,
Yes.
etc. Would there be a
Yes.
different diet as well as fiber intake also?
Yes, of course. The diet will definitely vary in all the clinical conditions. Yeah, you cannot make a generalized diet plan for all the conditions. Nowadays, recently, what we see is there are problems like diabetes, PCOD, obesity is there. All other different OSA. There are so many problems which we see routinely. So one cannot go behind any Google Doctors or WhatsApp universities to follow any regime, and it will not help him in long term. What happens is now, as we discussed, now suppose our today's tagline is nutrition, science, and art. Yeah.
Correct.
So nutrition is basically a science of food, and any qualified expert dietitian definitely will execute any plan keeping in mind a good qualities of food as it is, color, palatability, everything, considering everything, maintaining. Along with that, she will consider all the factors like culture, his ethnicity, the religion, genetic makeup, his clinical conditions, biochemical parameters, his sensitivity towards any specific food, emotional thing, ever cravings about specific food, detailed dietary assessments, frequency of the foods, what he's having, the unhealthy foods, if you say. So all this psychosocial aspect. So mainly considering so many factors together, and when we execute any plan, so it's an art. I feel. So it's an art. Artfully, she is planning, and she's motivating that person, individual, to follow that, and then definitely the person gets a correct result. So this is really an art. Which is combined with a great food science, which I really feel. So wisdom of expert is really very important in all the communicable as well as non-communicable diseases. That's what I feel.
It may not be possible for everyone every time to have this balanced kind of a diet, or maybe the requirements increase sometimes because of additional activities or because of illness or whatever it is there. A number of these nutritional supplements are there in the market. So what is this role of these nutritional supplements in that case?
So nutritional supplements are basically dietary supplements. Okay. That is intended to provide us nutrition that may otherwise not be consumed in sufficient quantities, like vitamins, minerals, omega-3, or you can say vitamin D, proteins, amino acids. It can be anything. in the nutrition supplement. We getting in capsules, form, powder, tablets, liquid form, in various types. We are getting all nutrition supplements in the market. But what if anybody is good at the healthy food and having good physical activity, then he might not need it. But in some certain conditions, somewhere it is required and he's lacking in specific nutrient, what we feel, then any healthcare professional definitely will advise individual to take any specific supplement. And according to his clinical condition, it will be decided how much long he has to take that, how many months or days or weeks it to be taken, that will be decided.
Okay.
So basically it is according to the condition, requirement will be based on.
Now, so far you have advised us so well what I should consume, in what proportion I should consume, and what will
Yes.
help me. Can you tell me what are the foods, which are the foods which I must avoid?
Anything excess to be avoided. But the thing is that anything, the packed, as now is picture seen, all healthy items. So anything, if this is taken by somebody once in a while, the body can metabolize it. But
All
nowadays,
all these items are so,
tempting.
Yeah, very
Tempting.
tempting.
Yes. But this refined foods, beverages, or you say aerated drinks, or any sugary foods, or this all refined maida products, which looks tempting. Unfortunately, all these unhealthy foods are tempting, maybe because of color and taste and all that. So that's why the problem today, what is arising, is because of the main culprit is here. So your question is very good. Why this food should to be avoided? So basically nowadays what we are getting, obesity and PCODs and OSAs or whatever lipid profile haywire. This is what is going on, increasing rampantly. I think the reason is because we are having all this three poisons in excess: excess salt, excess sugar, excess refined flour. So that is basically increasing in our routine. Previously even you will agree to it that people used to have on any occasions, any functions, they used to have traditional food was the main in the house. They used to make various recipes. The seniors used to make various nice recipes, and we used to enjoy our function. But nowadays, for a variety of reasons, maybe our packed food items or from outsourcing is more. You can see more. It is seen day by day, and right from kids to adults, this is increasing. And that, even you can maybe status symbol, or maybe this we are too much now care oriented, so we don't have time to make into traditional food. But then because of this, our problems are arising day to day. Now, as I'm working in the hospital, which problems which we never see, used to we see in 50s and 60s, patients to come with a heart problem or hypertension or in later stages, after 50s. Now, what we see is this age is reduced to early 20s, 30s. This is nigricans is seen in the teenagers, or we see various PCOD problems or obesity in children, or even the young age, 20, 30s age with the problem of cardiac arrest or any other thing. And when we ask in detail about assessment, we see that there are many problems are lying along with this faulty dietary habit, lifestyle, inadequate sleep, rest is not enough. The stress factors, there's so many things together, creating many problems. Nowadays, our kids are more indulgent on media games. On this digital platform, they are more they liking towards it is increasing. Actually, ideally, all children should play.
Anyway, but that's the limiting factor, especially in the present era of COVID pandemic. Most of the people have been made to sit at home watching the TV and entertaining themselves.
Yes.
Now, I have one more question here.
Yes.
We talked about macronutrients and we talked about roughage. You said about the micronutrients. Among these micronutrients, I think calcium and iron These are the two things which people at large are aware of. So,
Okay.
which are the foods that supply this calcium, iron, and other micronutrients?
Yeah, as you can see in this picture, basically all milk and milk products, whichever you call it, milk, curd, buttermilk, cheese, paneer. So these are all rich in calcium. Along with that, the rajgira, even til seeds, poppy seeds, these are also good sources of calcium. Whole grain cereals, ragi, bajra, jowar also are very good. Same in all green leafy vegetables, nuts and oil seeds. Even in pulses, what in say Marathi korit, kultacha pitla, you must be knowing korit,
Oh,
which is a very good source of calcium, which
okay.
is usually more used by the Konkan region. So there are many pulses like this which are important. And same way as you asked about iron sources, then
Yeah.
iron also is basically good in all palm legumes, green leafy vegetables, nuts like cashews, raisins, dry fruits like figs and blackcurrants and all that. There is iron source. But along with iron, I would say vitamin C also should be taken in good quantity, because vitamin C, the citrus fruits like simple amla or limbu. These are the things which we tell them to sprinkle on the lime juice. For example, we tell them sprinkle it on the food. Why? Because iron absorption improves by that. So vitamin C is equally important when we are talking about iron level to makeup.
Okay. Now,
So all
suppose
these
a
things
person,
together will be, yeah.
suppose a person fails to take regularly this kind of balanced food. What problems can a person
Yes.
face?
Malnourishment. So malnourishment, when we say both ways, no, it is excess of nutrients also is malnourishment, because overnutrition and lacking of nutrients in sufficient quantities, that is also malnourishment. That is, we say undernutrition. So undernutrition or overnutrition, both things are malnourishment only. As malnourishment, overnutrition, as already we have discussed in last question. I'll say about undernutrition here. Like for example, nowadays we are getting all communicable diseases. For example, now simple is pulmonary coughs. Now coughs is rampantly increasing in our city.
Coughs means tuberculosis?
Tuberculosis, yes.
Pharaoh.
So
Okay.
yes, yeah. So this is not in only because of poverty or lack of food. It's not because of that, but they are having not nourishing food is not so much taken. So they are land up into this problem. When we assess it, we see that they are having just simple, they won't have the good food at the home, and this school going or even teenagers, college going bachos, they will have more of outside cold drinks, vada pav and all that, and they will fill their stomach. But then they are not getting proper nutrients, and then long run they land up into immunity is going down, they go into anemia, and then any such infection from the air, it is airborne infection, right? So any such infection they catch, and then they get into TB. So what we see in our patients, usually they are not elderlies. Basically what we see is youngsters only getting into such communicable diseases like coughs, and this is because of undernutrition in the wrong way.
So in a short way, we can say that maintaining a good
Yes.
healthy diet habit with a santulit or balanced diet, it
Yes.
boosts our immunity and helps
Perfectly.
us, face off wend off these diseases. Do you have any
Yes.
specific suggestions for elders? Because slowly Indian elders population is growing. For elders, any
Definitely so.
specific thing?
Elders are the very important part, because these elderlies behave like a child. After say 65, 70s, they start behaving like a child. Maybe it happens by itself, because many times what happens is they are incapable of carrying out routine tasks which they otherwise used to do normally. So they become stubborn because of their health issues. So that's why, as you can see in this slide, that they get into this constipation, osteoporosis, muscle weakness, diabetes, so on. There's so many problems which they dysphagia, neurological issues. So because of all this, they become very stubborn. And but that time we have to see to it that they are having all well balanced food. The food groups are same what the other people are having, but here the problem is the form should be changed.
Okay.
Because of their problem, like suppose the inches are there, then they have to give a liquid or semi-liquid or semi-solid, solid. So this way we have to change the form in which they should be consuming. Same way, they need good quality of proteins. Now I'll tell you one, there are many studies what I've seen, the amino acid leucine. You know, leucine is one amino acid which is a branch and amino acid which helps in the muscle weakness, muscle synthesis. Sorry. So when this elderly, when they have muscle weakness more, they somewhere down the line, I think their amino acid, good quality proteins are somewhere lacking.
Okay.
And so we have to see that they have good quality protein in the sense, like, you know, the milk products in good amount, or even non-vegetarians, they can have milk, they can have eggs, fish, chicken in good, not oily, not spicy, so that reflux won't come up. They won't get into gastric reflux, but then they should have good leucine content through good quality proteins. Same way for osteoporosis, and you need good calcium rich sources along with vitamin D. For constipation, good hydration along with good fiber diet. That, as you said, we discuss about fruits and vegetables and all that. So that way, according to condition, we have to see to that we are giving them good, well balanced diet in the various from according to their liking, their choice, or emotional consideration. They become very sensitive also at that age. So
Okay.
considering all the factors, we should give them good food.
Yeah, I understand that. That means simply it's not only for elders as such. This should be applicable for all age groups, in fact. Now,
Definitely.
Do you have any take-home messages in very brief?
Yes, now we have already spoken about so much about nutrition and good fiber diet, so I won't repeat it again. But
Yeah.
practice healthier approach or behavior in terms of, you know, mindful eating, physical activity, lifestyle approach, quality. Then automatically quality of life will definitely improve. So this is a one nice proverb which I really like it, and I really, as a nutritionist, I feel this is a right proverb. And so when diet is wrong, medicine is of no use.
Okay.
When diet is wrong, the medicine is of no use, and when diet is correct, medicine is of no need. So when we are having well balanced diet and food is considered food very strong pillar of our life, then definitely we will be away from the gulping medicines, isn't it?
Yeah, true. Very good. So well said. Thank you very much. I think all of us must thank Safala madam for so nicely explained thing. She has in fact taken us through the process of understanding the science of food or nutrition or diet. Also told us very clearly and emphatically, it's not only science, it's an art, how to transfer these benefits of science to every one of us. Now I think it's time that Sanjana, we can have questions from the viewers.
Yes, we have a lot of questions from the
Okay.
viewers, and I'll
Please.
put it one by one so that ma'am can answer it.
Sure.
First question was can you tell us the easy differentiation between macro and micronutrients and how to consume it?
As we just now said, already we have discussed about macro and micronutrients. Right? As I said, now macro already I told you this we get basically from the pulses and legumes and all whole grain cereals, like, you know, all wheat, jawar, bajra, ragi, whatever you call it, all whole grain cereals, fats. These all we are getting macronutrients, and fats through visible oil. But mineral, what we say, vitamins and minerals, that is micronutrients, you know, that nuts and oil seeds that you will get from vegetables, colorful fruits, colorful veggies. So all this, when we are including more in our diet, these are micronutrients.
So large quantity food and small quantity food. Micro is very, very small.
I guess we
You know,
have
macro is, if I'm not mistaken, macro is measured in grams or kilograms, while micro is measured in less than a gram, milligram or microgram. that way one can construe it, understand it. बहुत कम मात्रा में जो खाते हैं विटामिन हम बहुत कम मात्रा में खाते हैं ना.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hear you.
Yeah, yeah. So this is what my answer is about macro and micro.
We have another question that how to consume chia seeds. जो सब्जा वाला सीड्स होता है उसको कैसे कंज्यूम करना है?
Sabja seeds, there is confusion again in chia. If the person is talking about chia seeds, it is something similar to sabja seeds. Okay.
Hello.
There's a communication problem again,
Yes.
Sanjana. So bear with us, viewers. We are very sorry. There is a technical problem propping up again and again. Yeah, Sapal,
Yes.
please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So this chia seeds asking about, then chia seeds, these are basically antioxidants. So even sabja seeds are not bad. So all types of seeds are antioxidants which are really training our immune. So a person can take it, but these are used in very small quantities. Nobody takes in a big one.
Now, just for viewers' benefit, Madam just said a word antioxidants. Now, just for viewers' benefit, we breathe in oxygen 24 hours of the day. Very small quantity of the oxygen that we breathe in is converted into undesirous kind of structures of oxygen, which are called as free radicals. And these free radicals, they oxidize, they combine with the body tissues or cell tissues and harm the tissues. The body also has
Hello.
an inherent system
Hello.
like catalase, peroxidase, etc. enzymes, which neutralize these free radicals and oxidation. Because the neutralization happens of the products of the oxygen in our body, these are called as antioxidants. Now, whenever a person undergoes a lot of stress or a disease, there is an enormous formation of oxidants or free radicals that is harmful to us. To combat these things to happen, it is required that we regularly have supply of known antioxidant foods. They just for a benefit of to understand the term antioxidant, free radical, and oxidant. Thanks. Sapala madam, please.
Yeah. Basically, all what we say, vitamin A, C, E, and selenium, zinc, these are all antioxidants, so-called, because they are immunity building. Where you are all colorful vegetables, what we say, we are using for salad, all colorful vegetables, all colorful fruits. They are in simple terms I'm talking about. So they are getting all vitamin A, C, E to us. So automatically we are getting good antioxidants along with nuts and like flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, or even this what we said just now, chia seeds, or sunflower seeds, even the fennel seeds, body shape, so we call it. All these seeds also which we are using for mukhwas. So all these things together give us, they are good for our system.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ma'am, the next question which we have is for the women who are in their 50s and 60s and who are still working, what would you suggest them to maintain their healthy nutrition? So, who are in their late 50s or early 60s and who are also working day to day. So, how can they maintain their health?
I'll try to explain in one in gist. Actually, it's not a one-line statement, but basically they should not skip their breakfast. Many times, what I've seen in our clinics, many times ladies in morning without breakfast they run for the office because they don't get time in their routine activities. And then in the office, sometimes you don't get time, so they just have biscuits or tea or something, just go on having tea continuously. Their hydration is poor. They won't be having good amount of water because they are so much indulged in so many activities. In the content also is reduced. They for long hours they starve themselves, and then in the evening usually their intake increases. In the evening, when they reach home, then they feel hungry. Because whole day they are not, they don't give enough care about themselves. They are just thinking about family issues or house or office or whatever. So then evening, when we have to taper down our food in the evening, that time their food increases. And sometimes with Bachu's studies are there or some other work, and they have late night food. So what happens is their acidity or reflux, other problem increases in same way weight gain also. Because they have, after everybody is over, then they will have their food sometimes. So then that night food also, late night food. So many factors together. See, they concentrate on their health. Timely food. I'm not saying that every 2 hourly they should go on having food. Not required. So even the three main meals like lunch, the breakfast, lunch and dinner, good hydration status, maybe in the evening, say one fruit in between. And everywhere the protein is included in any form. There are so many good protein sources as we discussed just now. So they should have one protein thing in the protein serving in the breakfast, one in the dinner, one in the lunch. So definitely it will be useful for their in long run. So they should have.
Safala, I think one extension of
Yeah,
the question,
yeah.
the question content basically is the age group 50 or 60, whatever was mentioned, 45 above, is the post-menopausal woman. This age group is the post-menopausal women who are working. So in
Yes.
the post-menopausal
Yeah,
women who
working.
are working, what kind of deficiencies can happen if they don't compensate with a dietary supplement or good proper food? Like I hear that because there could be lesser calcium absorption, osteoporosis, that is a bone weakness.
Yeah, exactly.
More in postmenopausal.
That's why I said. Yeah, right, sir. That's why I said when they should include one protein group in their every meal. Every 3 main meals which we say, breakfast, lunch, dinner, where protein. Why I said protein? Because when protein are resources of calcium and phosphorus too, and which is required in this age group. Yeah. So because if you think about, for simple, when you're talking about fish or for non-vegetarian fish or chicken, we talk about egg. For vegetarian sources, when we think about paneer or curd or milk, skim, defatted milk, that is all sources of calcium too, isn't it?
Okay.
So when they're having that in their meal, automatically they are getting this vitamins, minerals also.
Okay.
That's why I said, and along with that, one fruit or something they should carry with them. But no need to have frequent meals every 2 hourly or whatever they say is not required. But they should have good. They should not skip their meals for long period.
Okay.
And along with their physical activity, whenever possible, they should take out their time at least 30 minutes, every day to do, because the physical activity also is very important for their bones. And so whenever possible, climbing stairs instead of getting lift or walking somewhere, nearby house, they should take out time and walk for 30 minutes. 30 minutes minimum activity. All guidelines, you say ADA, AHA, whatever Indian guidelines, they always say 150 minutes per week exercise is must. So physical activity and diet, this both things are not, it won't go parallel. It has to be together. Then only the person can be fit.
Okay.
We just can't concentrate on one point, only exercise or only diet. It has to be both together.
Yeah, even walking at home also is possible.
Yes.
Nowadays with this
Yes.
lockdown and everything. Any other
Yeah.
question, Sanjana?
Yes, sir. So the next question we have is, this is with respect to balanced diet, that the workers, they are especially on heavy jobs. So they work very hard and they're on heavy jobs. So what is the easy way through which they can get the maximum nutrition? Like, how can they maintain their nutrition in the easiest way?
But then how exactly the person, how is defining his heavy work, that needs to be known. Because heavy work, if he thinks sometimes, IT sector people also will say, I'm doing very heavy work. So how is defining his heavy work, that is more important. What
Physical
I am
heavy work.
saying you heavy work,
Physical
yeah,
work is considered.
physical heavy work is not, physical heavy work is, physical heavy work will be, something on the road, the poor section, like, those are working actually on the something like hamal, or what we say, having burdens of things with, like, they carry with them loads, they are transporting things from here and there, where they need good calorie content in the form of chapatis or whatever rice, dal. The quantity should increase in them when they are having actual physical work. For
Correct.
them, the content of the food should be more. Along with that, again, as I said, proteins are required. Just
What is the
not
simple
increasing
way?
the bhakri content or vegetable increase. Yeah, the dal portion or whatever they're having, that amount also should be good. But it should not be too much oily that only fat content is increasing and they're not getting, calories are getting in the wrong way. It should not be that way. But they should have good meal.
Okay.
Many times what happens in physically, those are working at outside, what we have seen in our patients, they do actually physical work, and they have 3-4 vada pav on the road, and they feel their stomach, and they go on duty on the roadside, whatever they are working for, whichever the physical heavy work they are doing, or they have just one glass of soda pop, that one cold drink along with
Yeah.
2 vada pav, and they fill their stomach and they go. This is not something nutrition. Instead of that, we tell them to carry 2 chapatis extra, and good amount of usul or vegetable along with that, or one kela. What is bad in kela? Many times, they have wrong concept in their mind कि bananas and these things will be gaining weight, and they don't have, or say cough hoga या something of that kind, and they avoid that fruit. Whereas they have, but they don't are scared of eating bhaji pav, vada pav, samosa pav on the road. That is a
Right.
problem. So they should have, instead of that, if they're having 2 kelas, bananas, that is much better than having this vada pav, isn't it? So that way they should consciously have their improve their food intake. That's what I feel.
Yes. We have another question. I'll read it as it is. It is in Marathi. मी हृदयरोगी आहे, मी निवृत्त
Yeah.
आहे. माझा आहार नारळ शिजवलेला भात, शेंगदाणे आहे. आपण मला वरील गोष्टी निरोगी प्रमाणात सुचवू शकता का?
नक्कीच. नारळ किंवा शेंगदाणे किंवा सुकं खोबरं नाही, कळलं का? पण ते त्याच पद्धतीने ते प्रमाणात किती होत आहे ते महत्वाचं आहे. वी नेव्हर से की प्रत्येक एक यू कॅन से एरियाचं जे रिजन, कोकण रिजन इज बेसिकली ते नारळ खातात, किंवा दुसरा काही रिजन आहे जिकडे शेंगदाणे जास्त वापरले जातात किंवा काय, पण त्यांचं प्रमाण संतुलित असणं महत्वाचं आहे. कोणती गोष्ट एक्सेस मध्ये असेल तर ती वाईट, पण आता त्यांनी जर ती भाजी खाल्ली तर त्यामध्ये तेलाचं तवंग आहे, भरपूर अति खोबऱ्याचा वापर आहे, तर इट विल बी अ प्रॉब्लेम. पण तेच त्यांनी जर खोबरं नारळ त्यांनी प्रमाणात ठेवला, ते 10-15 ग्रॅम गेलं आणि शेंगदाणे किंवा नारळ किंवा काही अलॉंग विथ दॅट बाकीचे पण सगळ्या गोष्टी नीट असतील, तेलाचा वरती तवंग किंवा तरी नाहीये, तर त्याचा काही प्रॉब्लेम नाहीये. पण त्यांनी जर ते असं एक्सेस प्रमाणात वापरलं तरच तो प्रॉब्लेम होऊ शकतो. त्याच्या
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
ऐकायला येतंय का?
हो, हो.
हा.
Oh,
हा. सो ते बेसिकली त्यांनी डायबिटीज पेशंट असो किंवा हार्टचा किंवा काही, तर नारळ वर्ज्य असं सांगायची गरज नाहीये, किंवा भात वर्ज्य असं गरज नाहीये. बेसिकली त्यांनी ते प्रमाण कमी ठेवणं गरजेचं आहे. म्हणजे मॉडरेशन इज अ की. दॅट्स व्हॉट आय फील.
okay.
Ma'am, we have another question. So, can you guide us on parasitic liver infection, bacterial liver abscesses, and its mortality? So, basically, the diet for, like, what diet has to be maintained for healthy liver?
Healthy liver. You asked about cirrhosis, something you said.
Yeah, parasitic liver infection or bacterial infection, bacterial liver
Yeah.
abscesses. So, something like that.
Basically, for liver generation, liver cell generation, you need a very good protein diet and less of fat. Yeah. So he for parasitic infections and all that, many times when liver is affected, what people do generally, they avoid proteins. They avoid proteins. They don't take dals enough. They don't take curd. They think that it will be a problem because they many times there are wrong concept myths in the mind. So they should have good proteins in the food. Along with that, normal fiber diet, everything has to be in good proportions. When we assess that exactly diet patient what he's having, you will find many liver patients, what if we ask them questions, then we find there are many things wrong in them. They might have anemia or they might have ascites. So then if is there ascites, kya pani bharla hai, the portal hypertension, something is related to that liver, then again there will be a problem. Usually we suggest them for cirrhosis or such infections, minimum 1.2 to 1.5 gram per kg of body weight proteins. That is what required, and we calculate and we give it to them. So it cannot tell you on one line here on the in this discussion.
General guideline.
That is, yeah. So low fat diet basically, and very and good in proteins. This is what required, and no outside food. Whatever is made simply from home, because outside what happens is they are adding excess soda, colors, or preservatives. So these things are bad for liver, because liver is a main organ of our system, which is generating our energy. Whatever food we are having, liver is the ones he's making the energy ready for our vital organs to use it, for brain, for everywhere, for each and every organ. So liver is not functioning properly, then our whole system can get affected. So basically, no outside food, clearly homemade food to be taken with good amount of fruits and dry fruits, if possible, should be taken, because fruits gives you good antioxidants for regeneration of liver cells. So all colorful fruits, simple mosambi, avla, kela, santra, this whatever is available nearby his house in Peru, all vitamins, they give you good vitamins and minerals which are good for liver.
Okay, ma'am. Then again we have another question. It's in Marathi. It's the person is asking की मी माझ्या आहारात कोणते पदार्थ समावित करू शकतो ज्यामुळे हृदयातील अडथळे कमी होतील. Basically, how can you reduce the?
Could you translate this in English or Hindi?
Yes, yes.
काय कमी होईल?
I'll translate in English. That which all nutrition can be included in diet, basically to reduce the heart blockage or for healthy heart.
हार्ट ब्लॉकेज इफ यू से मतलब आर्थरोस्क्लेरोसिस म्हणायचं असेल कदाचित त्यांना, म्हणजे ब्लॉकेज ऑफ द आर्टरीज. या सो ब्लॉकेज ऑफ द आर्टरी, दॅट्स व्हॉट. एक्झॅक्टली. हा, तर आतापर्यंत आपण वी हॅव डिस्कस दिस की वेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट की जस्ट नाउ आय सेड वन इन बिटवीन आवर डिस्कशन आय सेड की शुड आय से इन मराठी और इंग्लिश?
बोथ.
हेलो
मॅम, बोथ लँग्वेजेस.
as you ask in Marathi, I would say की जेवणाची थाळी जर त्यांची अर्धी जर भाज्या, कडधान्य आणि सगळं भाज्या आणि सॅलडनी भरलेली असेल, छोटी प्लेट घ्यायची, खूप मोठी नाही, पण जेवणाची अर्धी थाळी जर त्यांनी भाज्या आणि सॅलड्सनी भरली, सॅलड म्हणजे सिंपल काकडी, गाजर, टोमॅटो, बीट, कांदा, जे आपल्याला रुटीननी मिळतं ते, आणि वन पोर्शन मध्ये आपला सिरियल्स म्हणजे भात असो, चपाती, भाकरी, वॉट एव्हर वी आर टेकिंग, अँड वन पोर्शन ऑफ प्रोटीन म्हणजे ते जे डाळ आहे किंवा नॉनव्हेज मध्ये फिश आहे, चिकन आहे, अंड आहे, वॉट एव्हर. सो असं संतुलित जर आहार घेतला, सो बॅलन्स दॅट ऑफ एव्हरीथिंग, बट मेजॉरिटी ऑफ फायबर. when we are having this fiber, as just now we discussed in one side of soluble fiber, right? So soluble fibers which is available in this vegetables and salad, that will definitely help to reduce this cholesterol, triglycerides, all this content. Triglyceride will reduce when he is reducing the carb content. Then he excess bhat, excess chapati is an excess praman giver. Sometimes our patient what to do, non-vegetarians, when they have liking towards it more, they will have more chapatis on that day, specifically more rice on that day, and then the blame comes on the non-veg. Ki today I had fish, so I had this problem, or today I had chicken, so I had a problem. The problem is not a fish or chicken. The problem is a carbohydrate which they consumed a lot because they liked that recipe, and immediately they are lying down. They are not having proper exercise along with that, or they are having all tari wala food. It's totally oily which they made, and they're skipping basically many times non-vegetarian. 70% I have seen they just keep this vegetable on that non-veg day. And this, if it happens very often, then he's going to land up into problem. Along with that, if person has got any addictions, cigarettes or tobacco or gutka or any other social drink or any other thing, then definitely is going to add on the problem further.
Okay.
So all this together, we hear about losses.
Okay.
Okay. So we have one more question. Can you give tips on eating habits to help in insomnia? So basically to help with insomnia, what should we eat or what should be our eating habit?
Basically to avoid insomnia.
Yeah.
See, what age group is this? Actually, they refer any specific thing they have mentioned there for insomnia?
No, maybe this is asked because of the lockdown that everyone is facing this issue that they are not able to sleep properly, and if we can help this with nutrition.
Yeah, you're right. See, basically, not only lockdown, but otherwise also, what we have seen, if the person is of middle age group, then what happens? They are a whole day. If they are doing lockdown, they are doing. So, for example, suppose he's working from home. The whole day he's sitting ideally in front of laptop and he's doing his work continuously. He's not moving around. Then there is no burning of calories at all. He's just having food and sitting at one place. The digestion is also impaired properly. Maybe he's stressed out because of the working, also the whatever stress in the mind of office work or whatever it is. That is also one more major problem. Sometimes I've seen patients of insomnia, they're having late night food, irregular meal timings, because they are working on their meetings or whatever goes on till late night, and they have the food at 10, 11 o'clock at night. So indigestion occurs, acidity increases, and they don't get sleep because of burning sensation. Sometimes they sleep in the late morning, they get up late, and then the night they don't feel like sleeping because sometimes they have afternoon nap. Afternoon they sleep, and then night rati झोप येत नाही. So rati झोप येत नाही, so continuously they will on media. They will chat with the friend. They will see any media nowadays is easily available throughout all 24 hours by 7 is available. So don't they are in front of screen. You are there for till late night. Then definitely you are going to get insomnia. The many studies shows medically if you are late night, if you are watching any screens till late, then you are going to get insomnia problem.
These were the only questions, and probably if we have more, we'll have it in the comment section and we'll answer it. So thank you, Patankar sir. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us and taking this live. It was great having you. Thank you so much for guiding us on nutrition and enlightening us on so many various topics. Thank you.